All right. So we're jumping into I Am That by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. All right. The mute button really did disappear.
It just
Okay.
happened. You didn't know,
Yeah, I fell and it was gone. All right. So we're at the end of chapter 45. And again, it's just going on. In their conversation right now, he's really struggling and always is struggling. Actually, you can see that one of the major struggles, this might be a helpful thing to see, that really the thing that's really difficult is that he's trying to understand, right? He's trying to understand. He's trying to actually fit these ideas or these realities into his mind. And he's constantly returning to the paradigm that is required for knowing something, right? Which is basically our triads that we talk about all the time. And because you can't fit it in your mind, it's something that you can only know in silence. And really, the idea of the Buddhist koans, these statements of nonsense or these unresolvable statements. That's part of the reason for it is it's to show you these teachings like a koan, they are paradoxical. They cannot exist in your mind. And like the koan, they're meant to throw you out of the mind. They're meant to make you understand the mind can't solve everything. The mind can't give you truth all the time, right? That there are things it can't process. The greatest one I ever saw the example of was in Star Trek when I was a kid. They landed on this island of androids, these robots, and the robots were very, very kind as long as everything stayed absolutely logical, but were quite tyrannical as long as that logic was maintained. And so they were capturing the entire Star Trek crew. And the way that they overcame them is Spock said, well, we can present them with a paradox. Just say to them when you see them, say, I'm lying. I'm lying. And so they start doing that, and all of the androids crash, you know, because it's a non-resolvable looping thought. If I'm lying, then I'm not lying, I'm telling the truth. But if I'm telling the truth, that means I'm lying. And so it's a non-resolvable statement that throws us out. And so the Buddhist koans are meant to do the same thing. They're meant to show you, look, this is not going to happen in your mind. This non-resolvable statement is not just to be humorous. It's not anything that's mystical. It's just to demonstrate to you the answer lies outside of your mind. And the more you are willing to step outside of your mind, the more you're going to understand. In that deeper understanding, not a relative understanding, which is the only thing the mind is capable of. This would not be relative understanding, it's an absolute understanding. And it only happens outside of happenings. It happens as an isness, as an unchanging truth in our being. And it's actually the unchanging truth that is trying to exert itself so that we understand the world properly. And through knowing the world properly, knowing its nature, knowing our nature, which is Ramakrishna says those are the only two things necessary to know, who he is and who we are. So the nature of nature and the nature of ourself in that. So he starts off today, our questioner says, well, what you say sounds convincing. But of what use is it to the private person who knows itself to be in the world and of the world? Right? So he was just simply talking earlier about this knowledge. We'll just read that last part since he's referring to it. Maharaj just finished telling him, he says, don't try to understand, right? Don't try to put this in your head. It's enough if you do not misunderstand. Don't rely on your mind for liberation. Um, there it is. There it is. That should be enough to give every one of us a headache. What else in the world am I going to rely on? Right? What else am I going to rely on? That's the first question. And then the second question is, why am I relying on something? And what is it that makes me think I need to rely on something? Right? What is it in me that's telling me something is not here, that something's out there that I need to rely on? So that's the actual thing. Is question, why do you have a sense of the need to rely on something? And then what is it that you're relying on? So he says, don't try to understand. It's enough if you do not misunderstand. Why? Because Satchitananda will keep unfolding, and teaching you and teaching you and teaching you. Just observe. It's kind of like what Swami Prabhupada said about reading mythology. It's a rather esoteric teaching of his, but it's one that I subtly understand more and more. He says, I was reading the Ramayana, oddly enough, this is way back early 2000s. I was reading the Ramayana, and I asked Swami, I said, did this stuff really happen? I said, because I get mixed reviews. Some writers write as if this is history and this is an account of something that happened. And some people are writing or talk about it as just an epic, you know. I said, how do you know what's real and what's not real when you read this? And he said, see, don't approach it like that. It's not important whether it happened or not. He said, when you read mythology, read it, accept it all, just as an isness, not as a fact or not fact, just accept it. And he says, when you're finished reading it, pay attention to the residue it left behind in you. Were there feelings of inspiration? Were there feelings of nobility? Were there understandings of a deeper truth? Were there deep emotions around love or victory or defeat or pain? He says that's how you read these things. You read them, and then you look back at how that experience was. What was the residue left behind from this reading? And so a lot in this teaching of this higher Vedanta, it's not something that you can catch. You don't have a big enough net. And so we read these things and we feel how it unfolded us. We get a sense of how did this iron out something on the innards? Does this allow us to digest experience more easily or in a cleaner way, right? Don't rely on your mind for liberation. It is the mind that brought you into bondage. Okay, that's an important thing right there. Don't use your mind for your liberation, and understand that your bondage is because of your mind. So that's a big deal right there. That's why Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now is so adamant about not thinking when you don't need to think. Learn to turn the mind off, to let it rest when you're not using it, when you don't need to use it. Only crank up that baby when it's necessary, right? And use it for a few moments to help you figure something out or whatever you're using it for, and then let it go back to rest again. And the reason for that is, and you will see it quite plainly in your practice, if you happen to get that moment of silence from your mind, that's when you know something. And it's not something that you can say, not something you can describe, but it's something that was revealed that is the isness of what you are. But it's an infinite isness. It's a pure potential of all things possible. At one moment, everything. And so you can't express that. You can't know that in the sense of mind knowledge, but you can know it in the sense of being. It's the ground of being. And that can never be picked up and measured, broken down into pieces and talked about. It's a wholeness, it's a completeness. But it comes to you in silence when you step out of the mind for the first time successfully. And you will see. So he goes on, he says, it's your mind that brought you into bondage. Go beyond it altogether. That is, be the observer, detach from it so that you can get a perspective of it and watch, just watch. If you just watch it, the entire scriptures will be unfolded in that experience. If you just watch it, you will see all the truths of the Vedas fall out of it in all of its machinations. You'll understand, you'll see it. And he says, what is beginningless cannot have a cause. It is not that you knew what you are and then you have forgotten. Once you know, you cannot forget. Ignorance has no beginning, right? Because it's not a thing. Ignorance is an absence of knowledge, so it doesn't begin. But it can have an end. You can come to knowledge. Inquire, who is ignorant, and ignorance will dissolve like a dream. The world is full of contradictions, hence your search for harmony and peace. These you cannot find in the world, for the world is the child of chaos. To find order, you must search within. The world comes into being only when you are born in a body. No body, no world. First inquire whether you are the body. The understanding of the world will come later. Okay, and now we pick up with today's question. What you're saying sounds convincing, but what use is it to the private person who knows itself to be in the world and of the world? Maharaj says, well, millions eat bread, but few know all about wheat, and only those who can improve, and only those who know can improve the bread. Similarly, only those who know the self, who have seen beyond the world, can improve the world, right? They're the only ones that are actually going to move the world forward in that sense, in a sense, forward in the sense that it looks more like God. Their value to private persons is immense, for they are their only hope of salvation. What is in the world cannot save the world. If you really care to help the world, you must step out of it, right? You must get rid of your self-interest, right? You can't just be a cog in the world that's sucking your own enjoyment out of the planet. You can't fix the world while eating it, right? So you've got to stop eating it, and then you can go fix it. That's kind of a funny idea. Well, doctor, you have to stop eating your patients to help them. So yes, you have to step out of the world in order to be able to save it, to be able to see anything, right? That's the huge value to having an understanding, to being situated in the heart, observing mind and body, means that you're not fooled by it. You're watching it, you see the play immediately, you see the plot immediately, right? And that's why holy men quite often are very joyful people. They see the joke immediately. Everything everything is this constant unfolding of the play, of this terribly delightful joke that we've played on ourselves. This impossible paradox that we've gotten ourselves to swallow, and the game that we designed ourselves to get out of, right? That this isn't, you're not playing a third party game here. Nobody did this to you. You've done this. And you've created this game, and you've created your delusion, and you laughed so hard when you created it. You were like, oh my God, that's going to get me good. You knew when you jumped in, this was going to be a zinger, but you jumped in, and here you are. And what are the tools you've given yourself, right? You've given yourself Takor. You threw that in. You're like, well, this game is so good. It's so tricky. We're going to need some way to get out, right? And so you wrote in a Takor for yourself. You wrote in a scripture, a Veda, right? And you wrote in a Zoom class. What a great idea. You wrote in a Zoom class for yourself, thinking, now maybe with these hints, I can find the way out, right? But they're only hints because there's nothing real to deal with in this game. So we're going to have to use the plot entirely to be able to snap us out of here, since we won't be able to jump off of anything in the play itself. right? So really, if you care to help the world, you must step out of it. That's the thing. You have to learn to control your mind. You have to learn to let go of your desires to see their unreality. You have to stop with the delusion of your egoistic story that is causing you to be a taker in a world where you cannot take, right? And as soon as you fix that, by knowing that you are the whole, then you'll help the world, right? Questioner's great question. He says, but can one step out of the world? How, how, where do I step? The whole world is around me. Maharaj, who was born first, you or the world? As long as you give first place to the world, you are bound by it. That's an interesting statement right there. Who was born first, you or the world? As long as you give first place to the world, you are bound by it. Now, why would that be? Because you're saying the world is more real than you. That the world is so real, it gave birth to you. You are subject to it, right? That's the worldly man. That's the worldly mind that thinks in those terms. As long as you give the first place to the world, you are bound by it. Once you realize, beyond all trace of a doubt, that the world is in you and not you in the world, then you are out of it. Of course, your body remains in the world and of the world, but you are not deluded by it. All scripture says that before the world was, the Creator was. Who knows the Creator? He who alone, who was before the Creator, your own real being, the source of all the worlds, with their creators. All right, so how do we get out of the world? By understanding its nature is a dream. By understanding its nature is consciousness, Satchitananda, right? And stop believing that it produced us, and understand that we are producing it in every moment. The questioner says, well, all you say is held together by your assumption that the world is your own projection. You admit that you mean your personal subjective world, the world given you through your senses and your mind. In that sense, each one of us lives in a world of his own projection. These private worlds hardly touch each other, and they arise from and merge into the I am at their center. But surely behind these private worlds there must be a common objective world, of which the private worlds are mere shadows. Do you deny the existence of such an objective world common to all? Ooh, good question. Maharaj, reality is neither subjective nor objective, neither mind nor matter, neither time nor space. These divisions need somebody to whom to happen, a conscious, separate center. But reality is all and nothing, the totality and the exclusion, the fullness and the emptiness, fully consistent and absolutely paradoxical. You cannot speak about it. You can only lose yourself in it. When you deny reality to anything, you come to a residue which cannot be denied. All talk of jnana is a sign of ignorance. It is the mind that imagines that it does not know, and then comes to know. Reality knows nothing of these contortions. Even the idea of God as the creator is false. Do I owe my being to any other being? Because I am, all is. Right? So he's saying that reality does not require the experiencer. And in fact, the experiencer is a wrong idea because there is no separation between the experiencer and the whole. Right? And we go back to that lucid dream that I always talk about, that I learned so much from, that little blonde girl in her yellow inner tube, right, inhabiting my dream with the idea that she was separate from me, inhabiting my dream, thinking that she was living in her own world. not knowing she was living in my world because she was inhabiting my dream, right? And in that dream, we all have the idea that we live in our own separate world, but we're all living in the same dream. Now, you say, is there a common subjective background to what we're all experiencing? Well, yes and no. From within the dream, yes, we're all sharing a dream, but what is that dream? What is it that we're sharing? It's not trees and forests and oceans and mountains. That's not what we're sharing. We're sharing an experience of mind stuff. We're sharing a dream. And so no and yes to whether or not there is a subjective shareable world that we all inhabit. It's like, yes, there is, and no, there isn't, right? Because what it is not what we thought it was. We saw the dream as real and we entered into it. And we believe it to exist. And we believe its stories to be true. We believe its sensations to be fact. But there are no sensations. There are no conversations. There are no colors. There are no mountains. There are no oceans. You are only in your own mind. And what you're seeing is your own mind. And what are you looking at? That which you are projecting. Those ideas that you are projecting are what you're looking at, right? It's a symbol for something beyond. So all talk of jnana is a sign of ignorance. It's the mind that imagines that it does not know and then comes to know. Reality knows nothing of these contortions. Even the idea of God as the creator is false. Do I owe my being to any other being? Because I am, all is. Questioner, well, how can it be? Right? How can that be? A child is born into the world, not the world into the child. The world is old and the child is new. Maharaj, the child is born into your world. Now, were you born into your world? Or did your world appear to you? To be born means to create a world around yourself as the center. But do you ever create yourself? Or did anyone create you? Everyone creates a world for himself and lives in it, imprisoned by one's ignorance. All we have to do is to deny reality to our prison. Come to know the projector and not the movie. Right? So in a sense, what he's asking you to do, he says, the next time you go to a movie, I want you to do something very different from everyone else in the room. I want you to bring your own chair, and I want you to face the projector. And I want you to watch the movie as the only person in the room facing the opposite direction. Then you will know the nature of the movie. Then you will understand the nature of the movie. And so that's all we have to do. We have to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing in the room. We have to
That's
stop.
turning away from the world.
Yes, turning away from your senses, turning away from the stories of your mind, and looking at the projector, looking at the I am. Now, of course, we can't look at the projector because we are the projector. So the metaphor falls apart right there. But the fact of the matter is, we can become aware of our awareness and keep our mind, keep our attention on the aware end of the stick and not on what it's aware of. You see, that's the thing that we have to do that's different from every other person in the theater. Instead of watching the tingling end of the senses, we need to watch the watching end of the senses, right? So that we don't get caught up in the tingling end, the changing end, the end that's always such a it's really the world basically is an Instagram feed, right? And you know how that is. Once you get started on that, boy, you can't pull your head out of that hole for no good, right? You're like, I've been doing this for 4 hours. I've got to stop. Oh, just 20 more minutes. No problem. Just 20 more minutes. And then I'll have dinner and I won't do it. I'll do my chores in the afternoon. All right. And so this is the world. We're terribly interested in the central end of the stick, where everything's changing and the colors are happening and the sounds are screaming and the sensations are whirling. But at the other end of the stick, the observer end of the stick, there's nothing happening there. There's just an isness there. And we're under the delusion that it's terribly boring because it's not moving and it's not changing. We haven't at all tasted its infinity, its depth, its immensity. We're just simply watching change. We're just simply flipping through our Instagram feed, one picture after another, learning nothing, doing nothing of any relevance, but content just to be deluded, just to watch the thoughts of another Instagram post, right? But that we get free of that when we pay attention to the person at the other end, right? When you're sitting there in bed and it's 12:30 at night and you've got to get up at 5 o'clock and you're still flipping through your YouTube shorts, right? How do you break that? You can't break it as long as you stay interested in what you're looking at. How do you break it? By putting your attention on the fact that you're actually a person laying in bed who needs to go to sleep, right? You pull your head out of the constant flick of change that's distracting you and you come to your senses. Ah, my God, it's 12:30. I got to get up in 4 hours. What am I doing? Just put it down. Don't think about it. Just turn it off, roll over, shut off the light, and go to sleep. And then you're done. That's all that it required. Right? So this Nisargadatta here is being very infuriating because he's telling you that's all you've got to do. Right? Stop giving reality to the world before you give reality to yourself. Stop paying attention to the titillating end of the stick and pay attention to the end of the observer, the watcher. Turn your chair around in the theater and stop watching the movie and watch the projector. Keep your awareness on awareness. And then what? Then you become aware of the nature of the movie. All we have to do is deny the reality of our prison. Believing in the movie on the screen is our prison, right? That's what holds us in our place. Just as the waking, so the questioner is saying, just as the waking state exists in seed form during sleep, so does the world the child creates on being born exist before its birth. With whom does the seed lie? Maharaj, with him who is the witness of birth and death, but is neither born nor dies. He alone is the seed of creation as well as its residue. Don't ask the mind to confirm what is beyond the mind. Direct experience is the only valid confirmation, right? So this is why we don't want mind, because the mind is just telling. We need to know. And so this needs to be an immersion of the self and not an observation of thinking. That's what we need. That's what we're trying to do. Don't ask the mind to confirm what is beyond the mind. Your task will always be simplified to fit in the mind. And we want the task before it's simplified, a task before we have forced it into a subject, an object, and a verb, or a time and a space and a causation, right? Or a past and a present and a future. Before we've interpreted it as being part of that paradigm, that's when we need to know it, right? And the mind simply cannot know anything that has not been applied to the paradigm, or that the paradigm has, that the triad has been applied to. All right?
Maharaj, before we go
Yes.
on, that
Uh-huh.
one sentence you said, immersion in self, not just looking at it. Can you just, what we need, you said what we need is the immersion in self, not just looking at it. What, can you just elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Yes, yes. This is a hard thing for me to describe. I see it as kind of you've got a stick. Let's say your only sense is a stick, right? And you can poke that stick at anything, and whatever it touches, it gives you information about that thing, right? And so we hold this stick in our hand and we walk around just, I love this image. We just walk around just poking at everything. Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, who are you? Oh, what are you? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why is the world like that? Oh my God, what is that? Right? And we just poke, 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 poke. And where is our attention the whole time? It's on the poking end of the stick, right? Whatever it's poking. Well, we all we need to do is instead of seeing the world something that we can only see one poke at a time, right? Put your attention on the end here that is absorbing all of that knowledge and pay attention to that self, because there it's standing still long enough and you understand the processor of all of the information. So you understand that it's the processor of information that's actually giving it its character, that's actually giving it its narrative and its story. And so then you come to understand, well, I'm not learning anything about the stuff out there. What I'm learning all about is the processor, right? Which is the understanding that because we have never seen anything but mind, with all of our science, with all of our imperial, is it called imperial knowledge or whatever? Anyway, the knowledge of the outside world, all of that
Empirical.
knowledge,
Mhm.
empirical, there it is not, we know nothing of the world. What we've been studying all of these millennium is our own mind, calling it an external world. We have never studied anything but the mind because we don't have access to anything but the symbols of something beyond that the mind gives us. So when we're sitting there studying an egg, we've never seen an egg. We can only see and touch the symbol for egg that our mind has produced from the senses. It does not know where that information comes from. It does not know what is out there. We cannot, just like Kant said, we cannot know the thing in itself because all we have is the mind and the symbols of what it tells us is outside, quote, right? And so all we can do is study the symbols. We're really just studying our senses, right?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. So just as the waking state exists in seed form, so does the world the child creates on being born exists before its birth. With whom does the seed lie? Well, with him who is the witness of birth and death, which is you but not you, right? Because we have two yous inside of us. We've got one who was born and who's going to die, and then we've got the other one who's watching the one who thinks he's going to be born and going to die, right? One is the conscience, which is the self, right? Which is not involved in any of it. And then we've got the other bird that's bouncing around the bottom branches, fully involved in all of it. All right. So what we want to be is fully immersed in the observer and not the observed. Because actually the observer is the only one that can immerse us. The other one is not there. It can immerse us in distraction. Right? Well, distractions don't have substance. They just feel like substance. Because they alleviate pain. Or they don't alleviate, they hide it from you for a while. And then they pull it out when it's a little more rotten later. All right. We doing okay so far? All right. Chapter 46, awareness of being is bliss. And this is the beauty. This is the, really to me anyway. Of course, it probably says terrible things about me somewhere. But this idea that the awareness of being, that's the bliss. Bliss is not being caused by a thing or an entity, right? It's caused by your very awareness of your very awareness. This is why I say one of the best things to do to change your day or to change your disposition is to stop for a moment. Stop everything. Stop the stories, all of them. No explanations, no calculations going on in the mind. And then just stretch, turn everything about you, turn everything about you into an ear. Have nothing that's an organ of action. Don't see anything as an organ of action. Turn your mind, turn all of your senses, and just open all of them at once. Don't pay any attention to any particular one of them. Open all of it. And see, that's the process because you can't. It's infinity. You are experiencing infinity right now. And our mind constantly is turning it down to a little keyhole, that we're looking at reality like this. So stop. And in the moment, open everything that you are into an ear. Hear everything, see everything, feel everything, all without a single thought about it. Just keep opening, keep opening, keep opening, keep opening. And the experience of being is infinite and amazing and mysterious. You have no idea what's happening because you have no idea what existence is. What is existence? What does it mean to exist? How would I know if I didn't exist? But you sit in that space. Bliss is always a very short distance into that process. Just the overwhelmingness of being with nothing defined. You're not thinking about anything in particular. You're just trying to open up. You're feeling the boundary and trying to open up beyond it. Not going anywhere, just opening up beyond it, right? See how far you can feel. How far can you sense? Can you take the entire universe in at once? So awareness of being is bliss. Our questioner, by profession, I'm a physician. I began with surgery, continued with psychiatry, and also wrote some books on mental health and healing by faith. I came to you to learn the laws of spiritual health. Maharaj, when you are trying to cure a patient, what exactly are you trying to cure? What is cure? When can you say that the man is cured? I seek the cure of the body as well as improve the link between body and the mind. I also seek to set right the mind. Maharaj, did you investigate the connection between the mind and the body? At what point are they connected? Questioner, well, between the body and the indwelling consciousness lies the mind. Maharaj, is not the body made of food? And can there be a mind without food? Questioner, the body is built and maintained by food. Without food, the mind usually goes weak, but the mind is not mere food. There is a transforming factor which creates mind in the body. What is that transforming factor? Maharaj, just like the wood produces fire, which is not wood, so does the body produce the mind, which is not the body. But to whom does the mind appear? Who is the perceiver of the thoughts and feelings which you call the mind? There is wood, there is fire, and there is the enjoyer of the fire. Who enjoys the mind? Is the enjoyer also a result of food, or is it independent? Questioner, the perceiver is independent. Maharaj, how do you know? Speak from your own experience. Right? This is a very important rule right here. You see, it's easy to go grab the line from the scripture. Oh, no, the perceiver is separate. And he says, wait a minute. How do you know that? Or did you just read that? Do you just think you know that, right? How do you know? Speak from your own experience. Have you had the experience of being separate from your mind? Have you had the experience of being separate from your body? Speak from your own experience. That's where you have to begin. That's where you have to sit in the now, right? Make no assumptions. Sit in the now and let the now show you what you know and what you don't know. You are not the body nor the mind. You say so, but how do you know? Questioner. Well, I really do not know. I guess. I guess so. Maharaj, truth is permanent. The real is changeless. What changes is not real, and what is real does not change. Now, what is it in you that does not change? As long as there is food, there is body and mind. When the food is stopped, the body dies and the mind dissolves. But does the observer perish? Questioner. I guess it does not, but I have no proof. Maharaj. You yourself are the proof. You have not, nor can you have, any other proof. You are yourself. You know yourself. You love yourself. Whatever the mind does, it does for the love of its own self. The very nature of the self is love. It is loved, loving, and lovable. It is the self that makes the body and the mind so interesting, so very dear. The very attention given to them comes from the self. Questioner, if the self is not the body nor the mind, can it exist without the body and the mind? Maharaj, yes, it can. It is a matter of actual experience that the self has being independent of mind and body. It is being, awareness, bliss. Awareness of being is bliss. Right? Awareness of being is bliss. It's this awareness of being. I want to say, could I get away with this? Awareness of being is creation. Would you say that? Awareness of being is creation. Because awareness of anything means of separateness, means a duality. And if you've got the duality, then you're in Shakti. You're in Mother's playroom. Awareness of being is bliss. Questioner, it may be a matter of actual experience to you, but it is not in my case. How can I come to that same experience? What practices to follow? What exercises to take up? Maharaj, to know that you are neither the body nor the mind, watch yourself steadily and live unaffected by your body and mind, completely aloof, as if you were dead. It means you have no vested interests, either in the body or in the mind. Questioner, ooh, dangerous. Maharaj, I'm not asking you to commit suicide, nor can you. You can only kill the body. You cannot stop the mental process, nor can you put an end to the person you think you are. Just remain unaffected. Right? That means keep taking that ego and moving it out of the way. Just remain unaffected. This complete aloofness, actually the way to do this, or one of the ways, this staying completely out of it, is the first sense of noticing something. Interject your mantra there. The first notion of something else, when the mind pays attention to a feeling, pays attention to a memory, pays attention to an idea, becomes so sensitive that you feel that. And when you feel it, start the mantra and bring the awareness back to that which is aware, God, the beloved, the delight of being. I'm not asking you to commit suicide, nor can you. You can only kill the body. You cannot stop the mental process, nor can you put an end to the person you think you are. Just remain unaffected. This complete aloofness, unconcerned with mind and body, is the best proof that at the core of your being, you are neither mind nor body. What happens to the body and the mind may not be within your power to change, but you can always put an end to your imagining yourself to be the body and the mind. Whatever happens, remind yourself that only your body and mind are affected, not yourself, right? Remember that you're dreaming. The more earnest you are, okay, the more you really want to see this truth, the more earnest you are at remembering what needs to be remembered, the sooner you will be aware of yourself as you are, right? So this means this is something you have to really want. You can't want the nectar of the senses and at the same time deny it, right? That's what's taking us such a long time, right? Because in one sense, we're in one sense, we're throwing the water out of the boat with the bucket, but we're not plugging the drain where the water's shooting into the boat at the back, right? We just we're going through all this work. So we're sort of enjoying the world with our left hand over here, and then we're trying to clean up the mess with our right hand over here. And it's taking us a long time, and we're like, gosh, why is this so difficult? It's because you're making a mess at the same time you're trying to clean it up. You're not being earnest. You're not being earnest. You're giving yourself little bits of enjoyments around the edges, right? But not enough. They're not bad enough. They're not serious enough to catch your attention, but they're just enough to keep you playing the game. Keep you distracted, right? What happens to the body and mind may not be within your power to change, but you can always put an end to your imagining yourself to be body and mind. Whatever happens, okay, so if anything happens, all the stuff happening right now, let it remind you that your body and mind are affected, but not yourself, right? So this is that same exercise that I've told you, when you're doing your yoga, your hatha yoga, and you're sitting there doing this 200 times or 300 times, it wears your arms out. And as long as you identify with the arms, right, while you're doing that yoga, this is a great way to practice, is do this until your arms are exhausted, and then stop thinking about the exhausted arms and think about you as the head who hasn't moved. So I can't say I'm exhausted because I'm not my arms. I'm now paying attention to my head. And when you start paying attention to your head and you start keeping your arms going, you no longer have the experience of the exhausted arms. And to the degree that you can discipline yourself to keep your thought on the head, you will be completely unaware of the exhaustion of your arms, and you could sit there and keep doing this as long as you want to sit here and keep doing this, right? But when you move your awareness into your arms, oh, I am my arms. Oh my God, I'm feeling exhaustion. Oh, feel that fatigue in oh my God, my arms are just getting heavy. Oh my Lord, this is terribly painful. Oh God, I hate exercising. Why am I doing this? You see, when you start paying attention to the changing end of the stick, you become exhausted, you become engaged, you become defined, and all of that condition of the body and mind becomes yours. But if you do the same thing, but keep your idea, I'm using the head as a thing because it's easy. If it's visible, you can see what I'm talking about. Keep your mind here. I'm the head, I'm not the arms, right? And keep yourself in that space and until you feel the difficulty in the arms abate. I also had that experience. I used to run up and down the Fillmore Hill steps for my exercise, right? And one day I used to do it six round trips, and one time I hadn't even finished the third one, and I thought I was going to die. I was like, I can't do this today, right? And then I decided, I was like, look, the body, you are not the body, you're not the mind. What does that mean? That means I'm riding them. I'm riding the body like I'm riding a horse. So now I'm going to ride this body up and down this hill. So I'm the one sitting on the body, riding the body. I am not the one climbing the stairs. And I played with that idea. And I tell you, go do it. If you haven't done that, go outside and find a flight of stairs or find your own stairs and go up and down them and up and down them and up and down them until you're getting tired. And then change your idea from being the one climbing up and down stairs to being the person on the horse who's climbing up and down the stairs. Separate yourself from that experience. And then you separate yourself from the body. And the body's pain is not yours pain, it's the horse's pain. The exertion is not your exertion, it's the exertion of the horse. Right? This works, and it works in a spookily accurate way. It's almost immediate that you get some relief when you just make that change in your awareness. And so this is what he's saying. What you have to do in your practice is always remember you're riding the horse of body mind. They are not you, right? Yours is the reins, I guess. Just go, but don't be identified with them. So what happens to the body and mind may not be in your power to change, but you can always put an end to imagining yourself to be the body and the mind. Whatever happens, remind yourself that you are only your body and that only your body and mind are affected, not yourself. The more earnest you are at remembering what needs to be remembered, the sooner you will be aware of yourself as you are, for memory will become experience. Earnestness reveals being. What is imagined and willed becomes actuality. Here lies the danger as well as the way out. Tell me, what steps have you taken to separate your real self, that in you which is changeless, from your body and your mind? Well, I'm a medical man. I've studied a lot. I imposed on myself a strict discipline in a way of exercises and periodical fasts, and I'm a vegetarian. But in the depth of your heart, what is it that you want? I want to find reality. What price are you willing to pay for reality? Any price? Well, while in theory I'm ready to pay any price, in actual life again and again, I am being prompted to behave in ways which come in between me and reality. Desire carries me away. Increase and widen your desires until nothing but reality can fulfill them. Okay, this is a new technique. I haven't heard this one. Increase and widen all of your desires until nothing can really fulfill them. Nothing but reality can fulfill them. Do you see what he's saying there? Don't desire one painting, desire all paintings. Don't desire one dish, and desire all the dishes. Don't desire a particular food, desire all foods. Make you understand that that's the reality. Because one dish never satisfies you. All right? You always have to go out to eat again. So imagine and understand that your desire is for the whole. It's not for a part. Come to that understanding. Increase and widen your desires till nothing but reality can fulfill them. It is not desire that is wrong. It is the narrowness and smallness. This is wonderful stuff. This is really good stuff right here. Wow. It is not desire that's wrong. It's the narrowness and the smallness saying, oh, I only want that, right? Desire is devotion. Wow. Look at that. Desire is devotion. This is what happens when you start seeing the world in the right way. It's like, oh my God. Wow, that which I've been resisting, that which I've been pushing against. Shouldn't have been pushing against it. I should have been changing the nature of it or realizing the nature of it. My desire is not for the small, it's for the whole. Well, what is the whole? God is the whole. My desire is for God. It's not the desire that's wrong. Desire is devotion. When you realize what it is you actually desire, then desire becomes pure devotion. And then that pure devotion becomes your earnestness, the match that's matched by your earnestness. You throw yourself into the task completely. By all means, be devoted to the real, the infinite, the eternal heart of being. Transform desire into love. By what? By this process we just walked through. This is marvelous. By desire's devotion. Transform desire into love. All you want is to be happy. All your desires, whatever they may be, are expressions of your longing for happiness. Basically, you wish yourself well. All right, we'll stop there. I'm running over time here. That is absolutely incredible material right there. There is so much in there that can be helpful, so much that could just open up everything. All right.